I moved a lot growing up. I've never finished a school from start to finish until college. I do want to identify as being a mom. I don't want to hide that, but I also want to identify as being CEO. You tell your manager about that goal. You find a way to let your manager's manager know that this is your mission, this is your goal. You need to figure out how to influence through others. And that was a new muscle for me to learn.
And we are recording. Courtney Hirsch, thank you so much for stopping by. I know you are an absolutely busy person, so thank you. Thank you for cutting out this bit of time out of your day. And especially because, okay, let me ask you this. Okay, so you're working at John Boy. We're going to get into what John Boy does in a bit. But I do know that the company is rooted heavily in Major League Baseball content. We are coming up to the tail end of the Major League Baseball season. I used to work in sports years ago. Did you
Mhm.
find that the postseason, even though you had fewer games to contend with and report on, is way more hectic than the regular season when you're just stacked with X number of games every night?
Postseason is so exciting for us. We are live streaming almost every game. There's a lot of commotion going on in the office, a lot of social media clips and content going out. So we are like gearing up for our busiest, most critical part of the season right now.
Okay, so before we go any further, though, because we are recording this a couple days before the postseason starts,
Mm,
does the CEO of John Boy want to make any predictions for the World
no,
Series?
no,
Nope. Okay,
definitely not.
okay,
Definitely
we
not.
will. We
The
will not.
Yankees are good for my business. I'm casual. I like the Yankees. I'm a Yankees fan, and that is good for our business as a whole. So,
Well, I got to say, go Blue Jays. I got to throw that in there.
okay, there we go.
All right, so let's jump into it. So, John Boy Media, you're the CEO. Tell us what John Boy Media is and what your role as CEO entails of the company.
Jomboy Media is a creator-led sports media company. So we are focused on creating content that our creators are passionate about, building community through that content. What our content looks like today is about 80% baseball content. We're covering Major League Baseball, but we create content on all the sports. We even created our own sports. We have our own franchise, half reality show, half sports we called the Warehouse Games. So it's a fun job. I feel lucky every day because it's so fast moving, quick. I get to work with a ton of different personalities. And my job is really to make a sustainable business around content creation. And if I can let the creators do their thing, be on mic, be on air 24/7, and I'm figuring out how to make that all work, that's when I'm really doing my job the best.
We're going to come back to this, Courtney,
Yeah.
but as always, we start from the beginning. You're a Jersey girl.
I'm a Jersey girl. Yep, born in New Jersey. I left New Jersey when I was 10, and I moved to a bunch of different places, and then but I always came back to New Jersey every summer. My grandma had a house on the Jersey Shore, so it's always been, like, part of my roots, and now I live in Montclair, New Jersey. I moved there about 5 years ago with my family.
I've got family in New Jersey. So what part of New Jersey were you born in or from?
Hazlet, Central Jersey.
How close is that to Woodbridge, New Jersey?
Well, that's close.
Yep.
Exit 117 on the Parkway, now we're talking Jersey talk.
Now we're talking Jersey talk. No, so my side of the family, the Italians came over, and some of them went through Nova Scotia, landed in Canada, and others went through Ellis Island and landed in New York and New Jersey.
Well, that's
So
cool.
I got some familiarity with the area.
Yeah.
So, what were your interests or hobbies growing up? Were you a sports girl?
I was a cheerleader, which
You were a cheerleader.
competitive
Okay.
cheerleader. So that is a sport. Did
No,
tumbling.
no, we know it's a sport. You
Yes.
believe okay, before I cut you off on this, I think you can even get, scholarships, right?
Yeah,
NCAA scholarships for cheerleading, okay.
that's
It's
true.
big
That's
big
true.
business in the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah, but, was born into a big sports family, so we were always watching baseball growing up and involved in, you know I grew up in with a lot of neighborhood kids constantly playing sports in the cul-de-sac.
So you mentioned you're a Yankees fan. Help a guy out who doesn't have 2 professional sports teams within the same league in his city. How do you decide whether or not you're a Yankees or a Mets fan?
Oh, I think you're born into it.
Okay, it's
Yes.
hereditary, okay.
It's hereditary, yeah, my mom's
Gotcha.
from the Bronx and my dad they're both big Yankees fans, so we didn't really have a choice.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay, so that's the deal, and so because you're from the Bronx, I guess it's the Yankees. Gotcha,
yeah.
okay.
Mhm.
So who would you consider your influences growing up? Like, who did you look up to? Family member, sports personality, anyone in pop culture?
Oh, that's interesting. No, I think as a family member, I think my parents, they just built a really great life for us, and they're my biggest motivator. I was always interested in business, and, the founder of our company, Jomboy, is my brother, and he's a big creative, and I was always a business person. So, it kinda worked out that we're building this business together, but I was always the one, sitting around the kitchen table talking to my dad about his corporate job when I was, like, 10 years old, and Jimmy, John Boy was like, "I want nothing to do with that conversation. I'm a creative."
So basically, the whole left brain, right thing kind of came together
Yes.
within the family. S-
Mhm,
So
exactly.
your brother's the creative type, and you were focused more on PowerPoint presentations and spreadsheets and
Yes.
budgets.
I cannot do his job, and he cannot do mine, so that's why it works out well.
That's why it works so well. Uh, what was your first job ever?
My first job ever, I think I worked at a water park at a s the snack stand, I remember. But, yeah, I always worked, like, I always had a job since I was 15 years old, working every summer, and then my family had a rule where if you didn't play a sport in high school, you had to get a job. So, I've worked at a lot of restaurants, babysitting, did all those non-glamorous jobs.
No, but like working at, say, the snack bar at the water park. What did you learn about yourself? Like, did you learn that this is not something that you absolutely want to do permanently? Like, I hear that from a lot of people
Mhm.
who get stuck in manual labor jobs early in
Yeah,
life. They learn very early on that that's not for them.
yeah, I knew I wanted to make money and that I was driven by money, and that was not enough money. So, that's why I got into sales. That's your easiest path to accelerating your income.
It is
Uh,
a bit of a business within a business.
yes, yes, that's true. I think I learned that I have the skill of talking to people and building relationships, and probably started off my sales skills right there in the snack shop, but that's what I always gravitated towards, talking to people, relationship building, influencing people, and that helped me on my sales path.
But what brought you to the West Coast though? Because you packed up and you went to the University of Pacific, and is this in San Francisco? Outside of San Francisco? It's in and around
So
there, right? If I
it's in the Central Valley, like, Stockton, California, which is not
okay,
near the Pacific Ocean. So I
not
was
near the Pacific
very,
Ocean. So okay.
very duped because I was a Jersey girl thinking I was going out to California, a school on the water. But I have a younger brother who's 12 years younger than me, and my family was moving to California at the time I was going to college. We were living in Connecticut before, and I was going to go to St. Joe's in Pennsylvania, and I didn't wanna be that far away from my brother who was only 5 at the time, and I felt like I wouldn't really be part of his life. So, I reapplied to schools on the West Coast, and I missed the cutoff for private public schools, so I could only apply to private schools, one being University of Pacific, and that was 40 minutes from where my family was moving and my little brother was going to go to school.
So did you move out when they moved to California, and, like, did you live on
Yeah, so, like,
campus?
I lived
Okay,
on
so you were
campus
out
and everything,
okay.
but I was an hour away. So I would go home for his baseball games and, like, was still, part of the family.
Was there any bit of culture shock moving out to the West Coast? You're still in the
Oh, yeah.
same country, but
Oh, yeah.
how different was it?
Well, people are I love those people. They're so nice, but they're slow.
Oh, God. Okay.
It tested my patience, being New Jersey, New Yorker. I have a bold personality. Um I think I stuck out a little bit there. I love California, and I love the friends I made there, but it definitely I like the people better on the East Coast, and I think the people on the East Coast like me better.
Did you find yourself homesick? Because there's a bit of a double whammy here because you leave New Jersey, you go to California, the family is there with you, but now you're moving to a new location within California, and it's kind of like the family's moving to a new location as well, so when you go home on the weekend to visit,
Yeah.
it's not your original house you were expecting to go home to when you were
Well,
originally applying to university.
yes. I moved a lot growing up. I've never finished a school from start to finish until college. That was the first school I ever finished. So I always moved in between high school, in between middle school. So moving, and I'm not attached to a house or anything because we move so much. So it sounds corny, but wherever my family is, that's home to me. And I'm not attached to like the physical, like house or neighborhood or anything like that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this question because this is as a sales professional, do you think, and maybe you've thought about this, maybe reflecting on it now that I bring it up, the fact that you moved around so much and you were forced to restart your friend group over and over again
Mhm.
makes it easier for you to network? Like you can go to a conference by yourself and just make friends because you've been doing it your entire life.
Yeah, I do think I've built that skill on how to quickly build rapport and build friendships and find your people. I think it's also made me super close to my siblings. And that's why my brother and I work so well together. My other brother, he works here too. We work so well together. We had this rule when we would go to a new school. We sat together at lunch and we would sit together at the lunch table until every single person found a friend. So we
Aw.
wouldn't ditch each other. And that would just like, when we moved somewhere new, we had each other and we became leaned on each other. So I think that's why it works so well.
Your first job out of university, was that Time Warner or was there
Yeah.
another job in between that and
Oh,
Time
Time
Warner?
Warner Cable Media Sales. I was a junior sales assistant.
And so you jumped right into the media industry at that point. So tell
Yes.
us, so just in case anyone watching doesn't know what Time Warner is, give us kind of the skinny on who they are, but at the same time too, what your role as a sales planner entailed.
Time Warner Cable is a cable provider, and I worked in the local New York City sales office. So we were selling TV commercials for all different types of brands that wanted to run a TV spot in the local New York market. And my role, my dad always I always remember him being like, "Courtney, you're a junior sales assistant. I didn't even know you could have junior and assistant in the same title." I was like,
God.
"Here it is."
The- the-
I was half like the receptionist and half a junior sales assistant. I had to ask to go to the bathroom. Like it was like, but I loved it. I loved being in New York. It was really my dream. Like, I was in Manhattan, I was working in advertising. I was in awe looking up to all of these sales professionals that were making deals and negotiating and, you know, running spots on Bravo and my favorite cable networks, and I just learned so much from that experience, and it was really a dream first job for me.
was it at that point you realized you wanted to get into sales, or was that something you had ambitions of in university?
In university, I thought I wanted to get into marketing because I didn't know. I think I was nervous to do sales. But once I started doing the work and saw the salespeople, the success that they were having, and how fun their job looked, meeting new
Mhm.
people, entertaining, closing deals, I knew right away, like, this is exactly what I want to do.
So actually, let's take a step back because you said something. You mentioned that for your Time Warner job, you moved back to the East Coast. So did the family move back as well too? Is that a collective effort or was that just you on your own at this point?
They moved back too. They moved to Connecticut,
Okay.
and I got a job in New York City. And my husband, he wasn't my husband at the time, but he went to law school in New York. So yeah, we lived in New York in our early 20s.
What brought you to Healthline Networks? And at this point, this you were promoted to or you were taking on a senior sales planner role.
Yeah. I so back then everyone's like, TV's going away, TV's dying. And I was like, oh my God, TV's dying. Like, I'm not gonna have a job. Like, let me go learn digital. But I knew digital was the new thing. And I wanted to get ahead of the curve. So I took a job at Healthline, it's a digital website, and I was on supporting their sales team, and it was a smaller company. So the path to becoming a seller was shorter, and I wanted to get in and learn how to do digital. And I knew eventually getting my own sales book would be quicker than waiting for a job opening at a big company like Time Warner Cable.
Kind of had similar paths out of university
Mm.
because I
Oh,
started
really?
working in broadcast as well. And I left to go into digital.
Mm.
Everyone thought I was crazy. I left
Yeah.
broadcast in 2010 to go into digital, and everyone was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I kept telling them, I'm like, this is like going to come down one day. And they laughed. Some of them laughed me out of the room. Did you have that issue too when you were leaving Time Warner? They were like, "Courtney, this is career suicide. People aren't going to stop watching TV."
No, I think they understood it because I was just like a hustler, and they knew I was very eager to continue to move and continue for the next thing. So, I don't think so. I think I was a little bit dramatic, like, TV wasn't going away anytime soon, but I'm glad, yeah, I made the change when I did.
And at this point, do you move on to, I'm gonna say it wrong, Simul Media or Simul
Simul
Media?
Media, yep.
Simul Media, and
So
this is your first chance to be an account executive, like, you're owning your own territory at this point.
yeah. Oh, yeah, that was such a fun job, and I just dove in head first and started making sales calls all across the country, just really winging it, selling a disruptor product that no one heard of the company, no one heard of the product. It was, um, a new innovative product where you're selling TV spots based on data and running it programmatically, which is very common these days. But when I was doing it, we were really the first to be doing it. So that was the best first sales job because it was really, really challenging.
Did you find any benefits to working at a small company? And just to put some perspective on it, I've
Mhm.
worked for big and small companies, and I find that the big companies are such a giant machine that if you see an
Yeah.
opportunity to change things, you can't. They slap your hand if you even try to change the font on a slide.
Yes, that's
Did
so
you
true.
f but did you find at Simul Media that they gave you the freedom to do what you
Yep.
needed to do to win?
Mhm. 100%. And I thrive at small companies because I learn by doing. And small companies let you just do. They encourage you just to do and fail and pick yourself up and do it again. So yeah, that's where I really need to be.
Whereas big companies ask you to fill out a form anytime you want
Exactly, and
something.
I don't
S
have patience for that. I
I
can't.
don't
No.
either. You made the jump over to Brightline next, and, how did this role as an account executive differ from what you were doing prior at Simul Media?
It was a similar role. Brightline was more of a creative company, and they created these, like, interactive digital, like, ads and channels on television. So it really, just made me, like, tap into the creative part of my brain, and, before that, it was a very Sound was a very data-driven sell.
And from here, you jump to Ground Truth, and again, you're an account executive. So what was the attraction to moving over to Ground Truth?
That was because I wanted to go to the West Coast. So, my
Okay, and
husband graduated law school, got an offer at GoPro to be in-house counsel. So,
okay,
he took
nice.
that job, and I wanted to get a job, yep, based out of San Francisco, and Um, yeah, Ground Truth was a very up and coming, disruptor, data focused media company. So it was the perfect place to land.
Doing sales on the West Coast versus the East Coast, I'm sure you're already gonna tell me that
Yep.
they were a little bit slower,
Yeah.
but but they couldn't keep up with you. But were there
Yeah.
any other differences?
More casual for sure. Friendlier and the dress like how you showed up to a meeting was different. What you wore, the dress code or the unwritten dress code. Sales in New York, you have to look a little bit more polished and put together than and I had Pacific Northwest, which, like, you would look so out of place showing up, in, like, a structured, like, suit jacket or something. You need to be a little bit more casual, a little bit more granola-y and, like, the vibes of every city changes.
You ever been to a meeting where the client shows up with, in thong sandals? I have.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I was like, "How do I compete?" I'm wearing a tie. I'm like, "Am
Yeah,
I overdressed for
like,
this?" Immediately, you
awkward.
become insecure. You're like, "Oh, boy."
I know, why? Like, when you're overdressed for some reason, people become more insecure, but I think it should be the other way around.
Yeah, but they are controlling the money, so if they want
Yeah,
me to take
that's
my
true.
tie and my watch off.
Exactly. I'm like, "Where are my flip-flops?"
Yep. At this point, you start to grow within the company, so you get promoted to director of sales Northwest. Is this, still a player coach role? Or
Player
you move
coach role. I was really running the division, West Coast division. I had a few strategic accounts that I was just running, and then I had a team under me, supporting the rest of the accounts out west.
and then you get promoted again, you're
Getting weird.
director of retail and restaurants,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it seems like they're very category focused.
Yes, and then we split to be category focused. I, had clients like Amazon and IHOP, and they really pulled the strategic accounts out, um, and created, like, very verticalized. teams against those, which I liked because you really became an expert in that vertical and an expert in that industry. And that helped me to feel super comfortable walking in to a room, discussing advertising for a quick service restaurant. Across the table was the CMO of T-Mobile, but I knew or Taco Bell, sorry. I knew so much about that category that it gave me the confidence to have those high level conversations.
Was there ever any resistance to that? Because I think that this is a style that's really been born and bred in the United States. I was at a company once that tried to do that,
Yeah.
and one of the I won't say the agency and I won't say what brand it was, but it was one of the big OEMs, automotive OEMs, and they were kind of like, excuse my language, they were like, "Fuck no. We do not wanna be RFPing the person who's also handling media for our competitors as well too." And in a way, the kind of structure fell apart because of agency backlash.
Yeah, I could see that. I think that's more comes into play more in the agency model when you're really a strategic thought partner. Ours was more of a data solution. So they just wanted to know like what is going to work the best for my
Mm.
category and my restaurant. And we knew exactly what was going to work for, QSR versus auto versus retail.
Was there an adjustment moving up into a management position? And I ask that because a lot of sales professionals really like the thrill of the hunt. They like
Yeah.
being able to network. They like having their name on the contract, hearing the bell ring. Was
Hmm.
that difficult for you doing less and less of that as you moved up? Like you said, you only had a few
Yeah.
strategic accounts.
Yeah, for sure. I think the high of the wins, like you need to figure out how to get that same high through other people. And you need to figure out how to influence through others. And that was a new muscle for me to learn. But I thought I would always want to keep some accounts for myself because I love that so much. But then as I kept on going in my career, I realized like I'm actually getting more joy out of other people, like closing the deal and winning and like coaching. So I never thought I would say that. Like I always just like love the being an individual contributor so much. But I think it just changes.
It's funny because you hear that too from a lot of creative types. They spend all this time in school learning Photoshop
Mhm.
and doing storyboards, and then they move up to the top and they're managing spreadsheets and payroll and budgets. And
Yeah.
you can tell that they're kind of a little bit lost because that's not
Right.
what they're doing anymore.
Yeah.
But your next role, you made the jump to Uber.
Yeah.
And just to make clear, just in case anyone's like, "What was Courtney driving Ubers?" No, you were on the restaurant business or the ad business servicing the restaurant
I was
business?
on Uber for Business team, and
Okay.
we were bringing the Uber vouchers, Uber for Business platform to Fortune 500 companies. So, for example, a deal I did was Buffalo Wild Wings wanted to integrated Uber vouchers into their loyalty app. So you get
Mm,
points at
okay.
Buffalo Wild Wings, you could use those points to redeem an Uber voucher and setting up that whole integration within their app. So working on these big strategic deals, I thought I hated me I was like, "I'm over media, like, I'm in San Francisco, I need to work for big tech, like, I wanna work for Uber or Google or, Facebook," and I wound up getting an offer from Uber and Google. I chose Uber because it was different from what the most different from what I was doing in ad tech, and
Was Was there I just wanna throw this out here. So I started off like you, monetizing content, publisher sales before moving into ad tech. Was
Mhm.
there a time where you had to really adjust selling ad tech solutions? Because it's a little bit more solution based. It's not as tangible as selling like a story or a narrative or kinda like what you're doing right now at John Boy.
I think I was always, using storytelling throughout my pitch, and that's how I found success selling even the data or tech-based solutions. I think it was a harder adjustment going to Uber, where it was more of a SaaS platform, and
Okay.
I thought I really wanted to be like a in tech and be like a SaaS sales, like get attain that skill. And what I missed so much was the creativity and the storytelling that I that media and advertising really allows for, and the problem solving and going so deep into a brand's mission and problems and helping them solve that through media and creative. And I just realized that, like, I miss media so much, which I was shocked because I was dying to get out of it.
Was there a bit of an adjustment period to the sales cycle? Because friends of mine who have moved from media to SaaS are
Yeah.
like, Vic, the contracts are bigger, but you
Mhm.
chip away at it one day at a time and it could take
Oh my
8 months to
god,
close
takes
something.
forever, 6
Yeah.
months minimum, 8 months, a year. Yeah, and I was one of my verticals was insurance companies, so, like, oh my god. Um, yeah, and it just I learned that, like, I love Uber, but big companies are not for me, and yeah, I just love media and being creative, but I did learn that I wanted to work for a consumer-facing brand. That's what I loved about working at Uber, and before that, in ad tech, Ground Truth isn't a consumer-facing brand, so that's why this is really the best of both worlds.
Okay, so let's bring everything full circle. John Boy, so you've alluded to it earlier in our conversation, and I had no idea that if I've got this right, your brother's a partner in this with you. Like, is this a
Yeah,
family affair?
so my brother founded the company, and he, is John Boy. The company's named after him. He started this in 2017. I was angel investor, early advisor, like, really was on the sidelines for the first 3 years, and then I joined full time at the end of 2020.
And you started off as the VP of Sales and Partnerships.
Yes, yeah, so this was the first time ever in life where our skill sets made sense to work together because he is a genius at content creation and creativity and building community. And, the end of 2020 is the first time where they really needed to start monetizing, um, building infrastructure, operationalizing, turning it into a business, and the easiest way to monetize an online community and content is through ad sales. So, it made sense that I joined him and came on board.
Did John Boy start as, say, like a singular YouTube channel where it got to the point where your brother's like, I've got quite the audience. There might be something we can monetize and turn this into a
Yeah.
business.
It started as a Twitter account, and when he had 7
Really? Okay.
yeah, talking, about the New York Yankees and built a community on Twitter. He had 7,000 Twitter followers, turned that into a podcast, turned that into a national baseball podcast, turned that into a YouTube channel, and kind of just, like, kept on growing from there.
Curious, how did he and even yourself at John Boy, how do you guys kind of keep the conversation going during the off season?
The off season is so fun because that's when your most intense fans are just dying for any baseball talk. So
Mm,
it's funny. So the engagement in the off season is the higher than in season because
really?
you have like the core, like diehard baseball fans just like waiting for us to drop any piece of content. So it's really, you have winter meetings, talk about the trades, and then after the new year, it's basically you're talking about spring training. So it's just a nonstop, nonstop business.
How did your role change when you were promoted to chief operating officer?
So that's when I officially took over the entire business operations. And I was always kind of doing that on the side with Jimmy, and we were making decisions together. But we wanted to just formally announce to the company that he was really leading content and creative, and I was taking all of the business responsibilities.
Did you guys have any sort of pushback in the market from the major sports brands like Fox Sports, ESPN, and so forth? Because it feels like there's a bit of a reckoning happening right now in the world between creator content and I guess you could sort of say legacy content,
Yeah.
especially when they tend to overlap in formats.
No, I think they've always been really friendly, and, now it's so cool because they're finding ways to work together. You see the deal that Barstool just did with Fox Sports. Creators are really becoming the new programmers, and they're becoming like production houses, and these major networks are licensing content from creators. Same thing happened with ESPN and Pat McAfee. So, it's it's exciting, I think, for both sides because both worlds are starting to merge together.
And speaking of partnerships, John Boy signed, and correct me if I've got this incorrect, signed some sort of partnership with Major League Baseball like
Yep,
2 months ago.
yep, Major
So,
League Baseball made
yeah,
an investment.
well, they made an investment.
Yep,
Okay,
they have a
within the
minority
company.
stake in Jomboy Media.
How did that start? Just one like, is this small talk going back and forth for a number of months? Just one day, do you get an email in your inbox and you, like, spit out your coffee in the morning going, "Wait, what?" Like, how does
No,
that
this has been
conversation
in the
start?
making for the years.
Years,
Always
okay.
always working alongside of each other, always knowing that, um, we were playing in the same space. How do we work together? Um, and I think it just came to a head last year where they really wanted to figure out how to make an official partnership happen. So it's unbelievable. It's a totally unprecedented deal. We are the first creator-led media company to ever sign a deal, an investment deal with a major sports league. You see a lot of other commercial type partnerships around, but there's no other creator company where a league has invested interest in their long-term success.
From one sales professional to another who's worked on some pretty big deals, how did it feel when you heard from your legal team that the ink was dry on the contract and it closed?
Oh, well, the legal team was me and my husband because he's a lawyer and an
Nice.
advisor, and we were up till, like, 2 a.m. every single night for this week trying to get it closed, and it felt really good. We were targeting a launch date, we knew it was going to press, so there was a lot of pressure and momentum in order for the deal to get signed, but it felt really fun when it was done, and it was just so cool, like, I get to do that with my brother, his best friend, the co-founder, Jake, and my husband all coming together and, like, working on this deal together. So it's a very cool moment.
And since that deal has closed, how have things changed at Jomboy? Like, just focusing on the content, like, what kind like, I imagine that, the creators have got increased access to certain resources,
Yep.
people, and so forth.
Yep. A lot of access to tools and resources, access to footage, archival footage that no one else has access to players. Players come into their office. They're like, hey, send your social team up here, media credentials at every single Jewel event that creators don't traditionally get media access to. So the access has been amazing. We're just really welcomed and integrated into the league. And then the opportunity to work with a lot of distribution partner. So we just signed a deal with Tubi. We signed a deal with WFAN. We're in talks with others that before it was just harder to get momentum going when we didn't have an official league deal in place. And now that we have the full support of the league with access no one else has, it's just really elevated our business and then also our content.
Well, congratulations on all the success with
Thank
that,
you.
and if anyone watching or listening to this wants to learn more about Jomboy Media or even get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
Uh, Instagram, LinkedIn, I would say, at Jomboy Media. Those are our handles.
Perfect, and if you're watching this, we've got it down in below at the bottom of the screen as well too. I also wanted to talk to you about growth within a company because in many cases you've secured successful promotions, or I should say you've successfully secured promotions, got that backwards. But if someone was coming to you for a little bit of mentorship and they were like, "Hey, Courtney, I like where I'm working. I want to be here for the next 5 to 10 years, but I can't be in the same job. I'm trying to think 1 to 2 jobs ahead at the company and something's come up." What advice would you give to them to help them move up within the company they're at?
You have to set a goal for yourself and you have to like define it like, hey, I want to be senior director of accounting in the next 2 years. You tell your manager about that goal. You find a way to let your manager's manager know that this is your mission, this is your goal, this is what like, why you are here, and let everyone know what track you're on, like, put yourself out there, and then I would say start doing stuff for the job that you want, and think about what projects and, tasks that job would do, and find a way to start doing it, and you have to act and prove that you could do the job before you ask for a promotion. That's how I've gotten all my promotions. I've always done the job beforehand, and then the title and the promotion kind of made it official.
How do you, in your current role as a CEO and a co-owner of a company, how do you find personal growth and development? Because in the case you're at right now, there isn't a level or two above you that you can look at and go, okay, here's a goal I can reach at. Here's a checklist of things that I need. So, what do you do for your own personal development at this point?
Always making sure I'm trying something new and that I'm saying yes to things that scare me. And
That's important.
mhm. Putting myself out there on social media has been a big one for me. I've been doing that for 2 years, but, a year ago, I started leaning into more speaking opportunities, panels, presentations. I'm going to be a judge on this, like, award submission thing. I've never done that before, so that's a big one. Just making sure that you're yeah, doing things that make you feel uncomfortable.
I want to touch on something you just said. You mentioned that you were leaning heavily into social media, and I've noticed that you do a lot of, I don't know if I want to call them branding posts, but you really lean into topics on social media, specifically in and around being both a mother of three and a CEO. And I want to understand better as to why you lean specifically into that topic. Like maybe someone said to you that you can't do it and you're out there showing other women on LinkedIn, other professionals that, yeah, no, this is absolutely possible. And here's how I juggle it. Or maybe I've got it wrong completely. And there's other motivations behind why you lean into that subject.
Yeah. No, I think there's 2 reasons. 1, we were taught this that women can do it all, and I think that women can do it all with help and resources and a support system. And if you look at a lot of my content, I'm talking about the village I created and the things I outsource. And I think that a lot of women get duped because they look at successful, moms that have successful careers and they think they're also running the house and watching their kids and doing the homework and the after school routine. And that's just not true. So I'm very just open about how you can get it all done if this is the life you want, and, there's a trade-off to every path that you choose. I also, think that a lot of the women I looked up to that were businesswomen did not talk about their kids, and they almost were like, "When I'm at work, I don't want to talk about being a mom." And I don't want that to be a part of my identity because it softens me and I wanna be seen as, like, a leader. And I just don't think that's true. I think that family I truly believe that in order to be successful at work, I need to bring my full self to work. And that's why I'm transparent about being the founder's sister. I'm transparent about being a mom of 3. My family and my kids are a huge part of my life. No, I don't force people to look at baby pictures of my kids, but, like, if you work with me, you know that they're a big part of my life, and I do want to identify as being a mom. I don't wanna hide that, but I also want to identify as being CEO.
I always thought it was crazy that, and I've heard this before where people would hide or at least keep that part of themselves, their personal life to themselves because they felt if
Mhm.
they acted like a mom or if they acted like a father, people would think they were being soft. But in reality, you are literally the manager and mentor for 3 humans that you brought into the world. Like how many
Right.
times, like if the kids turn out well, guess what people say? Ooh, I wonder what their parents were like. And if the
Yeah.
kids turn out poorly, they're just like, yeah, blame the parents. Like people
Yeah.
really seem to separate the amount of responsibility parents have in cultivating and growing and helping their kids.
I know, that's so true, and, yeah, a lot of the skills, they transfer both ways, and I always say if you wanna get something done, like, give it to a busy person because, like, they figure out how to do
Yes, I
stuff,
agree with that
and that is
completely.
working parents.
Courtney, this has been a fantastic chat. We're going to bring it home with rapid fire questions. You ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, the campaign you're most proud of.
Our Shady Rays campaign, we did custom sunglasses and created our own jingle.
Your favorite movie.
Dirty Dancing,
If Hollywood were to make a movie based on your life story, who would you want to play you?
Julia Roberts.
Oh, she's come up multiple times.
Really, she's such an
She
infectious smile.
she's great. If Hollywood were to make this movie based on your life story, what would you call it?
I think, street smarts over book smarts.
Ooh, I like that one. All right, your favorite book.
The hard things about hard things.
Your favorite song.
Oh, no, I don't know, some Justin Bieber song.
Some Justin Bieber song. All
Yeah.
right. The best advice you have ever received.
Respond, don't react.
I like that one. If you could go back in time and give your younger self advice, what would you say?
It's okay to be too much, too bossy.
And my signature closing question, if you weren't in media, what would you be doing and why?
Finding a way to inspire other working moms how to go for it and being the best mom and having the best career. I don't know what that looks like, but building some business that helps them do that.
And we're going to end things right here. Courtney, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you so much. It was so fun.